somebody's doing what you want to be able to do, look at them with loving curiosity and go, what does she eat? What does she wear? How many hours does she sleep? How does she handle stuff? How is she viewing that? What are her thoughts when that happens? And all you have to do is find somebody that's doing what you want to do and follow in their footsteps
So this,
long enough to get the result and then make it your own. Because nobody's perfect.
yeah. So this actually really speaks to one of the challenges that I've seen a lot with weight loss clients and clients in general, where they've never had a learning experience where they realize that it's not about them judging themselves. And so a lot of people get caught up in a shame cycle and they blame themselves, or they'd say, you should do this and you should do this. And why can't I be like this person or that person? And so that they're mad at themselves, and of course they're going to want to escape that because that feels terrible. And so they stay caught in a cycle, or they're running in a circle where they might take action towards something, not do it perfectly or the way they'd want, get mad at themselves, and then they go and distract by eating or something else that's destructive. So talk a little bit about how we help people escape that, because everything you're describing is great, but the foundation for people to be able to do it in the first place is that they accept themselves and that they have the confidence to realize that what they do in the world has nothing to do with who they are. It's just taking actions in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. The shame cycle, that's really just how they were raised. When somebody is doing that, the first thing I do is teach them that a conscience has to be installed for them to have a conscience, to know the difference between right and wrong. So right away in the free screening, I usually lay out what I can see of how their parents raised them, how their parents, because you have to have some strategy to keep your kids from running into traffic after a ball, right? Basic parenting skills. The problem with those basic parenting skills is we as parents get so scared about the kids getting hurt or being abducted or whatever that we can parent over the zone. And that's what usually happens with shame cycle people, where their parents' energy was a little higher than necessary for the situation, or maybe they were overwhelmed by something else and it didn't even have to do with the kid. But that shame cycle could also just be that their parents were trying to install a conscience, the difference between right and wrong. But once you know the difference between right and wrong, there's no reason to feel shame or guilt anymore. There is no reason for guilt or shame or talking in your head. Once you have command of your first language, you no longer need to hear your voice in your head. I've been doing this a lot this week, actually, just crazy amounts of this week. Look up so that you're accessing that part of your brain. Look up, listen to the sounds in the room, and then physically feel your body, like feel your shoes in your feet or your pants on your legs, but simultaneously looking, listening, feeling, and it forces you to get out of your head. That is sanity. Any internal dialogue is insane. It's just nuts. It's not reality. It's a fiction novel. And nobody's writing really beautiful rom-coms in there. It's all horror stories. Cut it out. Stay out here. Your memory drastically improves because words are just labels for real thoughts. So for you to make those words in your head, the thoughts had to exist for you to be labeling them. And then once you started labeling them, it's just like a writer writing a fiction novel. Oh, beautiful girl with long brown hair in the wind. And well, when you say that, and then ruby red lips and sparkling brown eyes, but you add to the story. Once you start talking to yourself, you'll keep adding to the story. That guilt shame cycle, they have to talk themselves into it. So as soon as they're feeling that way, the best thing you can do is criminalize it so that it just feels embarrassing. So when I do the satir model in my office, I love Virginia Satir. If I was younger, I would have posters of her in my room. The reason I love the satir model so much is because of what you're talking about right here, and it fixes so many things. If you level with yourself about what you really want, okay, how do I want this to go? And when I have them physically go through the motions of blamer, placater, computer, and distractor, I tell them at the beginning, we're going to physically feel this so that you know what it feels like in your body when you go into that mood. And then you can shake it off and just be embarrassed. But I realized that people needed to get a sense of humor about themselves and associate a little embarrassment with the cycle you're talking about: guilt, shame, blaming, anger, oppressed or obedient, like being downtrodden. All of those belief systems you have to have a sense of humor about yourself. So when I teach the satir model, I usually say, Virginia Satir calls it a self-esteem protection device. Scott McFall, whose business model we both use and teach, he calls it a maturity drama. And then I will say, and I just call it a tantrum, because that's what it is. It's the tantrum you got away with when you were a little kid, and now you're just doing the adult version of it. So the first thing I do in this screening is have them raise their hands over their head and jump up and down and say, I want my Cocoa Puffs, I want my Cocoa Puffs. And I make them actually have a kicking, screaming, embarrassing tantrum in my office first. And then say, if you wanted a discount at the department store or a refund for something, you wouldn't do that, would you? No. Okay, well then cut it out. And then we go through blamer. Now, blamer, it's all your fault. What you're talking about is when they turn it on themselves, but it's still the blamer from the satir model. They're just blaming themselves. And that's a martyr need. Well, it's my fault for trusting you. I should have done it myself. That's just passive aggressive mean. But some people really are blaming themselves. I'm not enough. I'm not bright enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not healthy enough. I'm not whatever. But that's still blamer. So if you're in that position, then you have to go, well, that was embarrassing, and then level. Okay, how do I want this to go? I want to be thin and fit. I want to be financially secure without being overworked. I want to be emotionally sage and wise and calm. I want to be the person that everybody could look to for the answer because they know I won't be freaking out. And I want to be able to know why I'm doing it. Like I have a purpose that pulls me through it when challenges get bigger or conflicting. So if you have a purpose, I mean, Robbie, if your child was trapped under a car and you had to get across town to save them, your purpose would be genuine. You would know what to do next and you would have passion to do it next. It doesn't have to be a trauma. But that kind of draw toward purpose is what makes us get there. And you're unusually successful in the world of hypnosis compared to other hypnotists. Like you're way more successful than any random hypnotist that you're going to meet. So when you first started, like you remember when you first got your first foothold and went, holy cow, this could really be a career. Do you remember that moment where you went, $8? Yep. Like, or an awesome testimonial, or like the first TV commercial where somebody was genuinely zealous about their success. That pulled you, did it not?
Mm-hmm, for sure. It makes you believe it's possible and that it's worth putting effort into.
It was worth it. It made all of the challenges and struggles and arguments and crying worth it. Because once you got there, now you have a point of reference. I do know this car can run. And if it ticks and blows a little smoke and I have to pull over and fix it, I still know that it'll go 75 on the highway because it did once before, right? So that people just need that passion. And I think you're successful. I think I've been successful. I think a lot of the people in our group that are successful, the reason we're able to teach that so well to other people is because we've been where they are. And now we're out here in the clearing in the sunlight, just going, follow my voice. But we have faith they'll get there because we've because we had to come through the woods to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when we hypnotize people, we're putting them into that state of mind where they're more open to this. Because as we're exploring this together today, many things that you shared are wonderful pieces that people can just take and run with. And they may be able to do that right now. Some people might need that extra custom feedback from a hypnotist, or the reinforcement, or have the experience of having customized hypnosis so that they can take it in at that subconscious level. Because sometimes we can understand things, it doesn't mean we can do them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is why we offer people programs. We don't, there's some hypnotists out there who take great pride in saying, well, I only do single sessions and all my clients are successful, but they never follow up. So how do they know? And so we see how it plays out over time, and that the benefits of having somebody to give you feedback and reinforcement and customized hypnosis to get your subconscious on board with all of this.
Well, yeah. Well, that's why we have little tiny programs and large hand holding programs. And I've had people that I'm like, if you just need a kick in the pants, if you just need the instructions of how to do it and some basic techniques like look, listen, feel, leveling with yourself, circle of excellence. Like if I can just give you some tools, show you the route, and then I call it the economy is kind of like a kick in the right direction, and then they have the service guarantee, so they can come back for tune-ups if they go off the rails. But then there are people who are like, no, I've lost weight before and then gained it back, so I don't want to go in the right direction. I want somebody to hold my hand until I have that passionate moment where you go, holy cow, this really works. And then you have that frame of reference where you feel like this is just who I am. Some people they need a cheerleader until they know, yep, this is who I am. And just the safety of knowing there's somebody to check in with. I also have a lot of clients who are being everything for everybody. Like they have adult disabled kids at home, they have ailing spouses or elderly parents that they're taking care of, and they're trying to be strong and sage and wise for everybody in their life. And sometimes their hypnosis sessions are the only place where they can be vulnerable and weak. Like in their mind, it feels like the only place where they can finally just break down and cry and go, I think this whole life is bigger than me. And then you bolster them and go, let's teach you how you got into this mood so we can teach you how to get out of this mood. And then start to blend it. I've been doing a lot of that. People who are living in these compartments and they feel like they have to be one person for their spouse and one person for their kids and one person for their boss, and it's exhausting because they're not really just being themselves, and they're doing a lot of placating, and because they're placating, they're going over their boundary everywhere, and it's leaving them exhausted. So their hypnosis sessions are, I've done a lot of role play. Okay, well, maybe you just need to level with your husband. Maybe you just need to level with your boss. And you can see the fear on their face. Okay, well, let's play it out. Okay. First, if you level, ask, this is how you could, I'll be you and you be him. And then I'll ask the question. And sometimes before they even respond in the role play, they'll go, well, that's beautiful. Couldn't you just come home with me and say that to my husband? No, but I'm going to teach you how. But that's the hand holding. Sometimes people need, because they don't know what the fallout is of courageous if they've never shown any courage or conviction in their life. They have talked in their head and made up these terrible war stories about how people are just going to shoot them dead for speaking their mind. And they don't notice that with loving curiosity, most people don't want everything that you're giving them. And most people are really okay with you just being yourself. And then people start expecting you to do things because they think it's what makes you feel loved. Well, I always tell my mom she has to make her famous potato salad when I come to visit because I know it makes her feel special. well, did you ever just tell her she's special? Because from the other end, mom making that potato salad is stressed out because she's making your potato salad and your sister's chocolate cake and your dad's roast, and then trying to have all of the decorations and the gifts and everything, and she overwhelmed herself. So what if everybody just said, Mom, I think you're great and special and wonderful?
So what you're really saying is that there are people who they're stuck in their own way of doing things, or the people around them. They have a sort of like a closed system in their life. And a big role we play is giving them feedback on that so they have choices, that they're not continually staying stuck there. And so they're wanting to have that step-by-step support as they're making these changes, which for a lot of people is really important. Otherwise, they're going to go back to the way it used to be. Right. And they'll have more excuses because they'll say, see, it didn't work. So it's staying with them for long enough that they see enough evidence that it's possible.
Exactly. Well, yeah, and it's very, it can be, it's not scary, but they have made up stories in their head that make it very, very scary. And having somebody that they know has only their best interest at heart, they've paid this hypnotist to help them to achieve a goal that they both agreed on before they paid any money. So they know that whenever they come in, your agenda is them getting to that goal. You've already paid the money, you've already signed the agreement. Now we have a dovetailed outcome for you to get to this goal. So when the people in their life are trying to get away with something or get their agenda on the table or whatever, they know when they come to their hypnotist, this hypnotist only has that goal in mind. So they can kind of bounce things off. But those, yeah, and just teaching them not to be afraid of making the change. And we do always go back to what we're most comfortable with. Even it's what we're most familiar with. Even if it's uncomfortable, it's familiar. I'll take the bumpy road home because I know it's a straight shot to my house and I don't know the shortcut this way. Like I know there's a smooth new highway, but I don't know exactly which exit to take. So I'm just going to take this bumpy road that pulls my car out of alignment.
Right.
We always go back to the thing we're familiar with. So if a program is long enough to keep them going, taking the other route until it's familiar. But yeah, their program has to be long enough for them to do it over and over again until it's who they are. Because losing that support can make that, they'll have the moment where they start to believe the talk in their head again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also why we all of our clinics have service guarantees, so that if you get around your family of origin, oh, talk about backtracking. When you get around the people you grew up with, it can turn off all of your maturity because those anchors fire off. So a lot of times, and this is funny, at Christmas time, I get a lot of service guarantee people coming back. I was doing fine until I saw my mother-in-law. I went home for Christmas and my brother said that thing. So it was, yeah, it's holidays. Anytime there's big family holidays, people come in with their service guarantee, either to prepare themselves for having to go see those people or to clean up the mess that those people re-elicited.
Mm-hmm. And so part of the benefit of this is that we're pacing it the way the client needs, and so they don't get overwhelmed or give up. We can break it down into the step size that will make them see what's possible and take the steps, see it's worth it to take the steps and have the courage to do it. And that's different for different people. Some people run with it, other people need the smaller steps along the way. And so that can really help people, because otherwise they're, all they know is what they know. So if they don't have that outside feedback, they tend to stay stuck there. Yeah.
Yeah. And we know all of that in the free screening. You can tell in the free screening what they're going to need, and then they choose it And I always leave space for them to expand into the longer hand holding program. If you start to doubt yourself, that's okay. You can always turn this into a bigger program.
Yeah,
Too.
great. Well, thanks, Heather. This was great. I think you shared a lot of great insight into how hypnotists can help their clients with weight loss, or if a person listening is wanting to lose weight. There are a lot of great just shifts in how you look at things here and great ideas. Just tell people how they can reach you.
Well, my name is Heather McFall, and I own Lake Hypnosis, and my website is lakehypnosis.com, 352-223-9444.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Heather.
Thank you.
Bye.